What's up, fight fans? Today, I'm going to be putting my picks into the hat for UFC Fight Night, Lewis versus Daukaus. We have a lot of great fights to discuss, but first, if you enjoyed the content we're creating, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and you can even follow me personally on Twitter. So let's get right into it. First off, we have the number 11, Diego Ferreira, coming in as a plus 155 underdog versus the number 15, Mateus Gamrot, coming in as a minus 180 favorite. Mateus Gamrot trying to climb through the rankings. One of my most anticipated lightweight prospects is making yet another comeback, and he's going to have his hands full with this one. Ferreira is a very high-level BJJ practitioner and may prove to get Gamrot problems in his specialty areas. Gamrot needs to be extra careful when shooting in for the takedown because Ferreira will not hesitate to wrap up a guillotine. It may be risky, though, because you don't want Gamrot on top of you no matter how good your jiu-jitsu is. I will give the grappling advantage in slight favor of Mateus Gamrot simply due to top control being so advantageous in MMA, and this isn't a submission grappling tournament. I think Gamrot, for the most part, can keep himself out of trouble while maintaining the dominant positions. On the feet, I see Gamrot being the faster fighter in there. I see him being able to interrupt Ferreira's momentum with that stiff ducking jab of his and quick straights down the center. Ferreira has some power, though, so Gamrot's going to have to be extra careful with his defense to not get caught by one of those big hooks. I see both fighters kind of digging into their jabs and dipping forward when they try to throw it. I give the stand-up advantage also to Mateus Gamrot due to his speed and technicality. I think Gamrot has more of an advantage on the feet than he does on the ground, and I think he'll mostly keep it there trying to finish Ferreira. I see him beating Ferreira to the punch. That being said, Ferreira has gotten better in his stand-up, and he's vast in his arsenal of combos, so I definitely give Ferreira a chance on the feet by catching Gamrot with something big. Ultimately, I'm going with Mateus Gamrot via second-round TKO. Like I said, I think he's going to beat Ferreira to the punch, and Ferreira really puts himself out there in the pocket and hopes to land that big power of his. But I see Gamrot beating him to it and really catch him clean, maybe something behind the ear. Next up, we have the number 13, Amanda Lemos, coming in as a minus 365 favorite against the number 12, Angela Hill, coming as a plus 280 underdog. I really do hope Angela Hill can pull this off, but Amanda Lemos is legit. Amanda likes to keep her hands low and pull people in for a counter and open them up with leg kicks. Both fighters have a Muay Thai foundation and plotty footwork. They're not too in and out. I think we'll see a lot of exchanges in the pocket for this one. I don't think we'll see too much groundwork here. I believe they'll mostly be showing off their Muay Thai skills. I could see either of them clinching up against the cage and maybe trying to wrap up a body lock and go for the trip. If so, I do see Lemos definitely having the edge in grappling. She's more dangerous in terms of submissions, and I believe she's going to be the physically stronger fighter in the cage. She's also really good at getting around the opponent's guards and fitting in ground and pound to open up positions for her to transition to. As for the stand-up, I think I'll also have to give the edge to Lemos. She has the elbows in close and a long 1-2 down the middle that tracks people down while they're trying to escape. Angela Hill doesn't have the best movement, and I think Lemos' pressure and feints alone will get her backing up to the cage. From there, I see Lemos putting the work in. Angela Hill doesn't really move her head off the center line and sometimes chains too many strikes into a combo. I'm going to go with Lemos via second-round submission, and I hate to make this prediction, but I like to be right. I see Lemos landing a powerful straight down the middle, dropping Hill, and then following up on the ground and getting either an arm triangle or a guillotine, depending on what position she ends up in. Next up, we have DARREN ELKINS coming in as a plus 170 underdog against Cub Swanson coming in as minus 200 favorite. I don't think DARREN ELKINS can keep going. I mean, that man has taken so much damage throughout his career. I see Swanson being faster and more technical in there. The only way I really see grappling being an X factor here is if Elkins has Swanson's back against the cage. He's throwing some combos. He's grabbing tie clinch. Swanson has a bad habit of ducking his head in the pocket with his back against the cage and his hands low, and they're not there to fight the lock. If Elkins can land some damage and get Swanson to drop his head, then he might lock up a guillotine choke or a front choke. Swanson might even survive the choke, but with Elkins on top. I'll give the grappling advantage to Elkins. Cub Swanson is good at jiu-jitsu. He's a BJJ black belt, but you can tell he doesn't like using his jiu-jitsu in the cage very much. If he doesn't have to, he doesn't like to. Lately, it's been Elkins' route to victory. So look for Elkins to try to make this a scrambling dogfight. Look out for Swanson's judo throws, though, because he catches guys off guard with them all the time. He may land a throw and do some damage from side control with some elbows or hammer fists on the ground. Swanson has a strong low kick, and I think it's going to find its mark here, and it's going to do some damage to Elkins. He does have a bad habit of keeping his hands low, but he accompanies that with great countering potential. He's a slick straight and likes to throw overhands, the lead and the rear. I would definitely give the advantage on the feet to Cub Swanson. Elkins is a bit too easy to hit, and Swanson will load up with some big shots, and I really do see them landing. Ultimately, I'm going to go with Cub Swanson via third-round knockout. Darren Elkins has taken so much damage, and Swanson is just faster and stronger. I see him catching him by the third, possibly earlier, but by the third. Next up, we have Gerald Meerschaert coming in as a plus 120 underdog versus Abasupian Magomedov, probably butchered that, coming in as a minus 140 favorite. This is a hard one to call. This is Magomed's first fight in the UFC. He's competed in some legit organizations before getting here, but we still don't know just how good he is yet. He's fought in the likes of KSW and PFL. He was even a former title challenger in the PFL, and he lost to Lewis Taylor. I'm going to go ahead and give the grappling advantage to Meerschaert. Magomedov isn't a slouch on the ground, but he's shown to struggle against fighters who specialize in jiu-jitsu and judo. I don't know how successful Meerschaert will be at getting this fight to the ground. I see his jiu-jitsu coming into play during a clinch situation, if anything. I see Magomedov having the advantage in the stand-up. His front kicks are going to be landing to the body, and he's pretty fast at following up with a 1-2 down the middle. I see this landing on someone like Meerschaert. He might get kicked in the body or bring his hands down to prevent it, think he's far enough away, and get caught with that long straight of Magomedov's. I'm going to go with Abasupian Magomedov. Again, probably butchered that. Via first-round TKO. I think his strikes are too long and his punches are too fast. I don't see Meerschaert's wrestling being enough to impose it on him, and I see him getting caught a lot at range. Next up, we have the number 6, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, coming as a minus 250 favorite against the number 10, Belal. Remember the name Muhammad, coming as a plus 200 underdog. I'll start by emphasizing that Belal Muhammad has the advantage on the ground, and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson has the advantage on the feet. I think that's a given for all of us. I thought that Wonderboy would be slippery enough to avoid most of the grappling of Burns, and was proved terribly wrong. It will be dangerous for Belal while he's trying to corner him to the cage. It's like walking into the wood chipper with Wonderboy. He sets so many traps and does a great job at angling off. One thing I see happening here is a lead head kick from Wonderboy after posting while Belal's trying to close the distance. I think it'll land on the guard of Belal because he does do a good job of keeping his rear hand high, but it's still going to hurt. It's a Wonderboy kick, karate world champion kick. Belal is really strong when he's working off a single leg. I don't really see him landing a double leg takedown in this one due to Wonderboy's long legs and his sturdy base. But if he can isolate a leg and go for it, he has a lot of tactics. If he has Wonderboy's back to the cage and is working for a single leg, I could see him doing something similar to what Burns did against Wonderboy, where he circled all the way into the cage and blocked Wonderboy's defending leg. He may be working at the hips or from a body lock, then quickly switch over to a single leg and attack it quickly from a very specific angle to not give Wonderboy time to think. Ultimately, though, I'm going with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson via decision. I see Belal having a hard time with his particular style, cutting Thompson off and trapping him against the cage. He keeps his lead hand kind of low, and I see Wonderboy's jab doing some work. Belal doesn't have as refined straight punches. He mostly uses hooks, and he'll even use them as an opener against his opponents. He used his technique quite a few times against Leon Edwards, of all people, and that is a big no-no. And lastly, but certainly not least, we have the number 4, Derrick Lewis, coming in as a plus 120 underdog against the number 8, Chris Daukaus, coming in as a minus 140 favorite. I didn't see this coming. I'm surprised the Lewis underdog. He did just get knocked out in this last outing. At first glance, I'm thinking Lewis is going to knock this guy out in the first round. But I will say that Daukaus has impressed me time and time again throughout his UFC career. He has fast hands and fits in surprising knees. The biggest X factor that I see him having going into this is his willingness to throw and make it a dirty fight. Daukaus' hooks are really a strong suit, and sometimes he walks someone down with a flurry of them. I don't think this is too wise against someone like Derrick Lewis. I think Daukaus should try to stick to fast, straight punches down the center. It'd do him good to mix it up to the body as well, especially after a feint, particularly the jab to the body and the front kick, and he has to use some feints in this one to try to get Lewis to swing early. Lewis is surprisingly good at timing people and finding their patterns and waiting for that particular strike. That's what gave him so many problems against Gane. Gane was feinting before committing to anything, and he was pulling out all those counters and big shots from Lewis and then punishing him based on how he reacted. Daukaus might do well making this a very dirty fight right out of the gate to not let Lewis find his timing and his patterns. He has to be careful, though, because Derrick Lewis can knock out any man on the planet. I counted Lewis out too many times and was sent home looking like a jackass. I'm going to go with Derrick Lewis via second-round knockout. I see Daukaus actually coming out and having a great first round due to his savageness, then trying to come out in the second the way that he did in the first and getting caught by something big that Lewis was waiting for. Seriously, if Daukaus isn't constantly using quick feints before entering the pocket, I think Lewis is going to catch him big, and Daukaus doesn't specialize in opening up his opponents with feints. He mostly just throws well-placed combos and walks people down. Okay, guys, with that, I'll go ahead and wrap up my thoughts on UFC Fight Night, Lewis versus Daukaus. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you disagree with our picks, make sure to berate us down in the comments below. Remember, this is not a sport. You don't play fight.